students of secondary schools, and also college and university students, all youth members, parents, grandparents, teachers of Dharma classes, and all youth members and all who are following the presentation. This is particularly directed or dedicated to people who are studying in schools, colleges, or universities, or people who are studying courses and face this problem of not being able to concentrate and focus on their studying. In fact, it can be applied to whatever you do to stay focused, not only in studies, but in all that you do. So this presentation is titled Staying Focused on Your Studies, a powerful Zen story. And from the story, we are going to learn an important method where we can improve our concentration or our focus when we study. And this is very important for all of us actually. Having taught so many years students in Form 5, Form 6, I find that those who do very well are those who have the mind that can concentrate and focus very well. Whereas some spend hours of studying, but they cannot concentrate and focus. So there is little absorption of what they study. So you can benefit from this. Now, the presentation has the text in English and Chinese. The Chinese is done using Google Translate, so it might not be 100% accurate, but it can help those who cannot follow English so well. The narration with the explanation will be done in English. So as usual, we will now launch the PowerPoint right from the beginning, right? The slideshow from the beginning. Now you see the cover slide. These two students having problems of concentration. Now this shows perhaps college students or university students, and they seem to have very good concentration, but nobody really knows what happens in their mind except you yourself. Sometimes you give the impression that you're concentrating very well, but actually your mind is running like a monkey, right? And by the way, I have now used the help of AI to generate some of the images. These 4 images actually were generated by AI, right? Artificial intelligence, very advanced technology now. Okay, so now let us move on to the story and then the Dharma discussion. Now, before that, let me take off my video, which is not necessary now. Okay, now let us go on to slide number 2. In a small mountain monastery, nestled among ancient pines and cascading waterfalls, there lived a diligent student named Sora. Wow, it's very, very well constructed, this sentence. In other words, he's telling you there is this monastery. It's probably a Zen monastery where you have the monks and also students staying there to learn Dharma, meditation. And this monastery is situated near pine trees, beautiful landscape. And you have the waters of the waterfalls falling down like a cascade. So there was this diligent student by the name of Sora. Probably he was a novice monk or learning under a Zen master. This particular student was very hardworking, diligent. Sora was known for his insatiable thirst for knowledge, but he often found it challenging to concentrate on his studies no matter how hard he tried. So he had a very good thirst for knowledge. In other words, wanting to know, wanting to find out. But one big problem he faced was this. He could not concentrate well on his studies. And they also have to pass certain examinations, or certain tests to see how you are progressing in learning. If he's a novice monk, then he has to pass maybe certain Dharma exams and so on. So he found it difficult to concentrate on his studies. No matter how hard he tried, his mind wandered like a restless butterfly, fluttering from one thought to another. Now, usually we say our mind runs like a monkey, right? But here you are going to see that a very interesting analogy is used about a butterfly. Now, butterflies, they, uh, flutter their wings and then move from one spot to another. They cannot stay in one spot for long, right? Let's say landing on the flower. After that, the butterfly will fly off to another flower, maybe to get the nectar or whatever lah. So that was a terrible thing, that he faced, a very restless mind, like a restless butterfly that cannot stay still on a spot. That is basically this point here. So you can see the pictures here, beautiful picture of the monastery, and this particular student, probably a novice monk called Sora. Now let us go on to slide number 3. One day, Sora approached his Zen master, and the Zen master named Hiroshi, which means the Venerable Hiroshi. And he wanted to get some guidance, seeking guidance on how to find deep focus. Focus would mean here concentration amidst all the distractions, particularly the distractions that arise in the minds, because he stayed in the temple or the monastery, so very quiet. So external distractions like maybe in the supermarket or TV all this, you don't have that so much, But it's mostly the case of mind disturbances, discursive thinking, the mind having distracting thoughts. You cannot concentrate, right? So, one thought after another, you probably would find, from your experience when you study, that you cannot be really concentrated. I have taught students to study so very hard, but the study methods are not good, so they can't concentrate and they don't come up with good results. So you see how important it is to be able to concentrate and focus on your studies. But actually, if you apply it to your occupation or your work, it's the same principle. That if you are not able to concentrate or focus on whatever you do, you won't be efficient. You won't succeed well in your project, or you will take a long time because of time wasted being distracted in your mind. So that is this very important issue. So this Zen master or this master, Hiroshi, a venerable teacher, monk teacher. And this monk was very compassionate and had great wisdom. So with eyes that held the wisdom of the ages, which means he was a very cultivated senior monk, right? So he had gone through all those years of cultivation, right? We say 长老, means a very, very senior, maybe he had been a monk for 20 years or so on. So he understood Sora's struggle. Probably he had experienced this before also when he was a young novice monk, right? When he started to meditate or to learn certain things. So he understood very well. So he's very, very kind. So he said, "Dear Sora," Hiroshi said, his voice gentle like the breeze, "I will share with you a story that holds the key to concentration. In other words, from the story, you will learn one important technique where you can actually focus on what you study or what you are doing. What do you do when you have all those distracting thoughts, one after another, popping out in your mind? So this is the point. Now, of course, these two are just drawings to show the master and the student, right? Sora and the Venerable Hiroshi. Now, let us go on to slide number 4. Now, so curious. So when Sora heard the Zen master telling him that he would tell him a story that would tell him how to have the key to focus and to concentrate. So he was very curious. So he sat at his master's feet, right? Normally, you out of respect, you sit lower than the master lah. That is the tradition. In order to absorb the teachings, from this master. So what was the story that the Venerable Hiroshi narrated or told? He said, so he started the story. Long ago, in a distant village, there was a young water bearer named Ryu. Now, that was the starter. He talked about a village, a distant village, very far away. You know, those days, you was not so lucky like us. You have tap water, no problem, isn't it? Those days, they had to get the water either from the wells or from streams nearby or from ponds. So they would use the buckets, and then you can see from the pictures here, right? You have a sort of a stick, a long stick or a pole where you can actually hang 2 buckets, so you can carry 2 buckets of water at a time and bring it back to the village. So that was the way they do it. So there was this young water bearer. His task was to fetch water to the village. So his name was Ryu. So it was his duty to fetch water from a nearby mountain stream. They got the water from the mountain stream. And from the mountains, the water will come down, very pure water, clear water, and you get the water, carry the water back to the village. Maybe it could be a distance away, right? So that was his task, because the villagers depended on the water carried by Ryu, right? Ryu. So one morning, as usual, while Ryu made his way to the stream with 2 large buckets hanging from a pole across his shoulders, he noticed something peculiar, something very strange. Actually, when we are doing this, carrying 2 buckets and then walking along an uneven road, you got to go to the mountain stream. You have actually got to be careful and mindful, right? Otherwise, accidents can happen, isn't it? But anyway, he did notice something very strange. Now, let us see what he noticed, right? What did he see? So here, just to show the task or duty of the water bearer. This one is just a cartoon to show you the idea of fetching the water. Now let us go on to slide number 5. Wow, as the master was telling the story, this student Sora listened with great attention, intently, and his mind was concentrated on Hiroshi's words because he wanted to learn the key to concentration, isn't it? So if you don't pay attention, then of course you can never learn well. That's why I also find this very interesting point which I can share with you. Among the best students I have taught, all A's and then getting into very famous universities and so on. These students had this one quality of mind in common. Very, very focused. So when the lesson is taught, when I gave them the lessons, I taught them general, in Form 6, I taught general paper and chemistry, English medium. And I found that these students, they would really focus on the lessons, right? So they remember many things. So they did not have to spend so many hours. They were quite active in extracurricular activities even. So now you learn this very important thing of attention. So then the master continued the story. What did Ryu, see? Ryu, the water bearer, actually saw a butterfly, a beautiful butterfly, fleeting or moving from flower to flower. And he found that the butterfly was beautiful. Its wings are like painted, it's not really painted, it's natural, right? But painted with vibrant hues. Very, very lively colors. Wow, he was so engrossed and entranced. He was so attracted by the beauty of this butterfly. So Ryu was distracted. So his attention shifted from his task. The task was carrying the bucket of water actually, right? He had already carried some water from the stream. So probably he was on the way back already. So his attention was shifted from his duty because he was distracted in watching the butterfly's graceful dance, fleeting from one flower to another like a dance. And I used the AI to generate this image, right, of this Ryu watching a butterfly. So I used various sources to get at the images. So he was very absorbed. His mind was just thinking about that. Wow, you see the color so nice, this and that. And he forgot about the buckets of water he was carrying. So Sora could almost visualize the scene. So when this diligent student heard the story, he could picture in his mind, wow, the water bearer paying close attention to the butterfly, as if the water bearer Ryu and the butterfly were related and connected, for those passing past moments. Right? So Sora could visualize the thing very well, even though it was just a story. And that is something very good. He could visualize. And those days, when we had to read storybooks, we didn't have, the type of television you have now, or, computers, or these smartphones and so on. So the books we used to read all had words only. So we had to exercise our imagination to picture all the things. Right? So that was very helpful. It built up the quality of our thinking, and our visualization. A very important quality is very lacking today, right? Because everything is, shown and they can't really think creatively already. Okay, so now let us go on to slide number 6. All right, number 6, So he was quite lost in the butterfly's graceful movements. So when he was walking, he started to walk also. But at the same time, he was distracted by the butterfly fleeting from one flower to another flower, isn't it? So he was not mindful, basically, because he was distracted. So what happened was his feet hit against or stumble on a rock. Right? Stumble means you kick the rock accidentally because you were not paying attention. So, and he nearly fell, or maybe he lost a step or missed a step and so on. So what happened was when that stumbling took place, then suddenly only his mind came back to what he was supposed to do, to bring the attention from looking at the butterfly to what he was doing, and that was to carry the pails of water, right? Then he came back to reality. Oh, I'm supposed to carry this water back to the village. And now what happened? Because he nearly fell, he lost his footsteps because he stumbled against the rock. So the buckets rattled. That means shook. The buckets of water shook, and then some water spilled onto the ground. Right? So he had lost some water. And You know, it was those days were very precious, the water. The water got from the stream, sometimes, you know, not that much. So the water got to support the lives of the villagers. So Ryu realized, oh, yo, he had lost precious water. And this precious water was the life-giving essence that sustained the village. That means the villagers depended on the water, isn't it? And he had a certain time he must return to the village because people are depending on the water for their cooking or whatever, you see. So you see, a very, very beautiful lesson about when you are distracted, then the consequence can be terrible. So this Sora, the student who was listening to this story about the accident of Ryu stumbling against a rock and losing precious water, he could grasp the meaning of the story. He understood the significance of the story. So then, so he asked, he asked the master, he said, this master Ryu, or that means the water bearer, he was distracted, so caused him to lose his focus, right? He could follow the argument, you see. So he was distracted, he could not concentrate, he was losing the focus. So he wasted the water. But how does this relate to my studies? I'm asking that I'm asking how to solve my problem of not being able to concentrate on my studies. But now, this story here is about Ryu who is being distracted and then he stumbled and lost some water, precious water from the bucket. Wasted the water. So can you connect? How is going to help me really? Sora asked the master. You understand? I hope you understand. Actually, there is a connection. It boils to the question of our mind and focus. So now let us see how the master Hiroshi explained, right? So let us now go on to slide number 7. So the master, very, very compassionate, very nice person. These 3 pictures were all generated by AI, artificial intelligence, digital images. Nowadays, you have a lot of programs. You can check internet. Whatever pictures you want, you must be able to describe, what pictures you want, and then they will come. So I selected these 3 pictures because, you have to, if you go on and on, you spend wow, hours, man, many, many hours. This presentation itself already took more than 10 hours from the time of listening to the story from the internet, right? Then after that, I have to get at the words, the story, and then to correct the grammar mistake, editing it. A lot of work, but I quite like it if it can benefit people, you see. So now you find that I chose these 3 pictures. The first one actually show the person, the mind filled with things, very distracted. That is represented by the different colored things. The mind that is very distracted, right? And so the master explained that this one is the picture of the master. It's just an image. So the Venerable Hiroshi smiled and he acknowledged Sora's insight. Quite a smart student, this Sora. He could understand this, but he wanted more explanation how to relate to improving his focus on his studies. That was very good. So the master actually quite like him also, you see. So then the master explained, Sora, just as Ryu, the water bearer, lost his precious water, your wandering mind can cause you to lose the essence of your studies, the knowledge, understanding, and growth that await you. That is a very important point. You have to understand why it's terrible. If you get distracted, you will lose precious time, right? And then also, there have been students not being able to focus and concentrate and they fail the exams and they cannot gain the knowledge. They cannot understand, right? And the mind doesn't grow in the knowledge. Cannot understand many things in it. Why? Because lacking in the concentration. Why? Because of distracting thoughts. The thoughts coming and then they follow just like Ryu. right? Following the movement of the butterfly and then being absorbed by it, forgetting his main task, his main duty. So Sora pondered. Ponder means to think over. To think over his master's words, and then he understood the really deep truth within them. Right? He understood it all. So now he will tell his mind, or he will exert the discipline now, that if he doesn't control the mind, he doesn't focus and concentrate on his studies, he's going to waste a lot of time, and he might not be able to understand the various aspects of his studies, and he might not be able to pass any exam, or he might not be able to learn important things over the period of time. So he thought about this, very important. So once you understand why it's important to focus, that's the first step. Right? If you don't understand that why it's important to focus, then lah. So nice, I can think of the thoughts, visualize, fantasize, imagination, because you don't understand the importance of focus, isn't it? So understanding is important. Then the master will tell you how to go about it. That's the second step. So he pondered, that means he started to think, he was in the temple there or the monastery, so he started to think over the master words, he could understand. Now let us go on to slide number 8 now. This Zen master Hiroshi was a very compassionate and wise person, so he told the student, have confidence. Fear not, my student, right? But fear not, that means do not be afraid, my student, right? And he was very, very reassuring, always giving encouragement, right? So lucky to have such a teacher, right? And of course, the teacher also liked such students who really wanted to learn, right? To solve his problem. So now he shows the method. To find deep concentration, you must become aware of the butterfly within your mind, which means that whatever thoughts, whatever images, whatever distracting things that come in your mind, you must know that. You don't just let your mind just run wild, right? That you have no control with. He say, firstly, you must know, oh, now the butterfly is appearing in my mind. This butterfly is just a symbol, right? But now you say, I'm thinking of this thing which is not connected with my studies. I'm thinking of a television program, or I'm thinking of, the food I'm going to take. All these are distracting thoughts. Whereas your primary task objective will be, at the present moment, what are you studying now? That is the thing. He's trying to convey the message. He said, the Zen master did not ask him to, with force, kick out the image of the butterfly. No, he said that you can be aware of it. You can notice that it's flying, right? That it is very, very fast. You can notice that it has this blue and orange color. It's attractive. But important thing is, at the back of your mind, you must not allow yourself to be distracted from what your primary object is. What is your task at hand? In other words, basically, is this. When you are studying, you are concentrating on something, right? So let us say certain thoughts, just like the butterfly, coming to your mind. Maybe the thoughts of your mother cooking the food. You know it is a thought. And you might even see the picture. But you, at your mind, you still know that the primary thing is I have to concentrate on my studies. So very fast, you just acknowledge, now I have these distracting thoughts of the food, right? So now I have to bring my mind back to the study. Right? It's not that you're not aware. No? You're not aware, it's not possible also. But in most cases, what happens is people cannot focus because they are attracted to what they see in the mind or what they think in the mind. Like, for example, the story of a television program. And then after that, the mind, the thinking proliferates. It goes on. Hey, what happens? Did this man marry the girl or not? And then what happened? After that, no, the other person got jealous. No end to it. So your mind is being very distracted and you lose your focus on what you are studying. You are aware of that thing, the thoughts coming, but the moment you know the thoughts, you note them, And then you quickly bring back your mind to what you are doing. If you are studying, for example, and you find it difficult, maybe you can take a pen, a pencil, and quickly write down about the things about the studies. So that will bring the focus back to what you are doing. So all these are this needs training and so on. So your mind become very sharp and always focused and know how to cut off the distracting thoughts. Sora, very smart person. He could know the technique already, right? If the technique is not to push away, you just cannot push away and get very angry. What, man? I have these thoughts about my food are greedy and so on. So your mind is not at ease, is it? So you push it away, but still, the thing will come again. The thing is to note it with a neutral feeling. You don't attach to it, right? And you also don't push it away. You know it at least, but at the back of your mind, you know you have to go back to your primary object. So then you bring your mind back, just like catching the wandering monkey back already. Then the thought will stop already, right? This is the technique. So Sora realized that the butterfly represented his thoughts, right? A lot of thoughts, just like the picture shows here, right? The butterfly just symbolic, showing the one thought after another. And then many of us cannot control this, right? We don't know what to do, right? So in time to come, you waste so much time, following the butterfly, which means that you let the thoughts take you away. So you get drifted and your thoughts multiply, the story continues on and on until you find half an hour has passed and you have not studied anything. Isn't it? So you find that don't let these distracting ideas or thoughts tempt you away from your primary object, that is study, isn't it? And likewise, so you are doing anything, let's say you're meditating, and for meditators, very important. When we are meditating, we are watching the breath. I think I'll comment it at the last slide, right? So this is the technique. That's what the Zen master told the student Sora, right? I hope you follow. Now let us go on to number 9 now. So, as I said just now, the Master Venerable Hiroshi, he said, you don't resist the butterfly also. In other words, whatever thoughts that come, you don't try to push it away very angrily. You say, what, man, still kacau me like that. That makes it worse. You just acknowledge it. These are the thoughts coming, right? And anything that arises will fall away. You don't pay attention to this because I have something to do, my primary object. So this is what you do. You acknowledge his presence. You know it is. Your mind is alert. You know what is going on. Right? It's a thought that arises and it will go. So the master advises, allow it to be. Don't try to push it away. But the important thing is, do not attach to it. Do not follow it. Do not let it multiply and proliferate. You just know it's there. Note it, right? Oh, I have a thought of thinking about tomorrow, right? I know that. So I don't want to pay attention to that already. All right, then very gently, you bring your mind back to what you are doing. No aversion, no attaching, liking it, craving for it. Just very, very gently and also in a very neutral state. Sometimes you say with compassion also. Then you say, now you go back. And you are in control of your mind, isn't it? You can bring your mind back to what, I was studying this paragraph, right? On a historical account of Alexander the Great. So now I'm at that. And you'll be at that. Otherwise, you don't know what was I studying? Isn't it? So now the master elaborates. Bring your attention back to the stream of knowledge, the pure flow of understanding, and that's what your study is all about. You are like in the stream of knowledge, and you want to have also understanding. It's just not knowledge, but it's understanding. It's a pure flow. And focus and concentration is very important. If your mind is distracted, only part of it at it, And then the other parts are thinking of, oh, you know, Coldplay is going to come, or Taylor Swift may be coming to sing the song. All these distracting thoughts, and you find that how much time would be lost. You are not at what you're supposed to do. So, like Ryu, right? Ryu, his primary task will be to carry the water back, isn't it? To the village. People are waiting for that. But he got distracted and lost the water, and probably delayed also. So you imagine how many people will suffer because of your distracting mind. So the master said, likewise, you have to carry, it's not the water now, but it's using the water of wisdom, right? So that means when you concentrate and focus on your study, you get the knowledge, you get the understanding, you get the wisdom. And this is for your mind, the village of your mind. And that is how you cultivate the mind. You enrich the mind, isn't it? So there is this story as an analogy. Wow, Sora was so happy. The intelligent person, he could understand. These three images also generated by AI, right? So Sora was very happy. He felt a newfound sense of clarity. So he knew what to do already, right? How to train the mind, develop the mind, and grow in the mind, where you will have the fountain of knowledge and wisdom growing and growing. Isn't that wonderful? So we realize that when we say concentration, it's not a battle against his thoughts, but a harmonious dance with them. This is something quite deep. You know, some people, what happens is if they want to concentrate on something, then they use force, all right? Use force and just like by brute force, and then they get a headache. It doesn't work. So now he realizes the more you force your mind to concentrate, you might get what we call the samadhi headache, concentrated headache. You feel very uneasy. So he realized that it's not to fight against the thoughts. The thoughts will come and go if we do not just pay attention to them, right? One thought. So in time to come, the thoughts come, then they go off, and you all the while trying to stay at your primary object. That means what you are doing at that moment. So it is a harmonious dance with them, right? A dance with your thoughts that come and go. At the same time, you're anchored onto your primary object. That is the trick, right? So meditators also, meditation teachers also warn about that. Some people they get very upset and angry when they get distracted. They say very hard to concentrate. I try so hard. And then at the end of meditation, people feel so nice. Such people feel samadhi headaches because they are using brute force. Whereas the correct method is to just note them, know that they are rising, what is happening, but you do not go and analyze or pay attention to them or think further or try to interpret it and then get drawn into a long story. That's what you don't do. It's a thought that comes and goes, that's all. So this is a very important point in meditation. So I find these three pictures quite good, right? I see the butterfly represents the distracting thought. And once you know that already, the concentration improves. And the third picture shows this, you see. You got the technique already now. You can concentrate on the primary thing you are doing. And that's why there are certain people who know the technique of studying. They score all the A's. They do very well. Other students have thought, one day study how many hours? 8 hours, 9 hours. In the end, 1 A also didn't get. Even though they might be intelligent, because the studying technique's not good, right? How to use the mind so that you have good concentration, mindfulness, they don't know, you see. Of course, some people, they are gifted, right? I've taught students, from the past life, the past karma, they are just naturally very, very good in focusing, This is the karma that comes from the past. Probably in the past, they have meditated and learned these things. I've taught such students also. So this is the slide number 9, and I hope you understand what he's trying to say. As I say, this presentation is more suitable for secondary students, and then also college and university students, or even adults. Primary students are not so suitable unless the standard 6 student happens to be a fantastic good karma from the past. I've also met young children, 75, 76, that they can meditate so well, right? Okay, now let us go on to number 10. So, from that day onward, this particular student by the name of Sora, he embraced the teachings of Hiroshi. That means the master, he really respected the master and followed all the teachings in the monastery. I think he was training to be a monk, because the last picture shows that he became a monk later on. Full monk. It started the time as a student, maybe a Samanera or a novice monk, starting the time only, right? So from that day onward, he was very diligent, mindful, dedicated, very conscientious student of the teachings of the great master, Venerable Hiroshi. And he, of course, practiced mindfulness also, right? And he would always observe the butterfly of his thoughts. You always think of the analogy, not that the butterfly is in the mind. It's just that your thoughts are just like the butterfly that the person Ryu got distracted by, right? So he just observe the thoughts, paying attention, but he would always return to the stream of knowledge before him. All right? In other words, we are in control. We are in control of the mind, right? Very important. So many people don't have control of the mind. They let the mind run here, run there. The mind tells them do this, they will do that. All these things are so weakens the mind. So you find that he has found the technique. This is one very important technique. There are many techniques also where you can actually focus. After we discuss some of them, right, to improve our concentration. So with each passing day, these students' concentration deepened. You could concentrate very well, and probably I was meditating also. You could go and get into the jhanas already, the deep absorption, then the powers will come. But anyway, that one is besides the point. Now it's about the studies. So the studies flourished. He was excellent in his studies, you see. And then many years later, he passed all the exams. And this Sora became a respected scholar already. You find this picture, shows it. A very respected scholar, very famous for his unwavering. Unwavering means unshakable. He doesn't goyang-goyang, he's very sharp focus. A sharp focus on the thing. And when that person can do that, understanding of many things, understanding of many aspects of the Dharma, for example, or even worldly things, he can understand, deep understanding. Why? Because he has a focused mind. Just like Albert Einstein, that time, calculator and so on, but given a very, very sophisticated calculation, that time no calculator, no smartphone or computer, but he will just close his eyes and focus. Focus on that, the mind will do it, and then he can come up with the answers very, very fast. There are some people who can, students also, you find some very good. So focus is a very important thing. Today, unfortunately, more and more are not able to focus. They get bored with all the TikTok things that move one after another, and they chase for more, no end. I've seen some of the TikTok things they send me, only a few I see. From morning to night, the will be chasing one TikTok thing after another TikTok thing, very exciting. All the funny entertainment things, people's mistakes, and all those things. But then the time will come, you find the mind becomes weak, right? It becomes restless. It cannot have peace. That's where the problem starts. This is actually not my analysis. The great psychiatrists or psychologists have also warned about this. It's not that you cannot watch the TikTok or things like that, but you must make sure you have time to develop your mind through reading, practicing meditation, interacting and talking with people, and all those good things are traditional methods. But today is a world of TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook. Unfortunately, many have abused it. No wonder you have so many suffering problems of the mind. Now let us go on to number 11 already. Right? But you see, he was a very humble person, all right? Even though he had become a really great scholar, right? Well known throughout the place, but yet he was very humble. He was very grateful and thankful to the master. So he will always acknowledge that he could develop because of good teaching. And he said the path to concentration, he told people also, right, actually started with the story of Ryu and the butterfly, the water bearer, remember, and the butterfly. And then he applied that teaching from that story. In other words, the story of the water bearer, right? That means Ryu and the butterfly gave a lot of wisdom teachings. And in fact, this story has lived on and he has inspired generations of students on the technique to approach the studies. Of course, then the teacher could interpret to give insight into the lessons from the story of the water bearer, Ryu, and the butterfly. So that technique, actually today also you find many meditation teachers teach this technique of observing and not being caught with it, attracted with it, right? Just it comes and it goes. But you know, you're always aware, mindful, this thing is happening, it will pass away. So we always concentrate on the primary object. So, wow, generations of students approach their studies. So they learn this method with the balanced mind. The mind is not tense up trying to force it to concentrate, and the mind is not very lax, always easily led away by distracting thoughts, but is a very balanced mind, like dancing with the butterflies, you say now, and allowing the thoughts to flutter, right? That means actually basically to note it and then drop it, note it, drop it, and come back to the original primary task that you are at, right? And in this way, you will be able to carry the precious water of knowledge. Not only knowledge, you'll be able to carry the precious thing of wisdom. Because it's only with a focused mind, a very concentrated mind, can wisdom arise. If a mind is not focused and concentrated, then wisdom would not be able to arise in a mind that is restless, that is distracted, that runs around like a monkey, not directed, not controlled. So many students have followed this with unshakable dedication, great confidence. Now, this I put in the last picture for this story as, of course, this Sora, very grateful to the master, right? And he always will remember the story, he remember the story of what? Of Ryu, the water bearer, and the butterfly. So then the master gave the important, this is by addition to it, important things from this story. Watch the mind. You must know what is happening. Otherwise, they take control of you. You be caught up by it. You don't know what is happening in the mind. You always watch the mind. And then always realize and know that you must not attach to the passing distracting thoughts. Don't attach to it. And then the other thing, of course, don't try to push it away with great force and anger and ill will. That's also not correct. You must know how to just gently, right? Note that they are thoughts, and then you don't attach to them, you don't push them away, and you note them, and they will die a natural death. Then you're always at your focus object, right? So, very important, we always focus on your present task. Of course, this story pertains to studies. Actually, it pertains to, it can be applied to any situation of life. Let's say for me, I find this very important. Let's say I want to do cookery, to bake a cake and so on, right? So I must make sure I have focused attention. When I'm doing it, focus attention, so I don't make the mistakes, isn't it? And then when you have that focused attention, then you find that less likely you make mistakes and you follow the instructions all correct. Whereas some make a lot of mistakes because they get distracted. Carrying out an experiment, for example, they are not focused. So what happens? Thinking of this thing and then worst thing, chit-chatting with another person, right? And then the mind becomes what we call scattered. That's why you have a scattered brain person, scattered one. A scattered mind is very weak. A focused, directed mind is very strong, right? So that is a Dhamma, focused, directed, right? Pay attention to that, whatever you're doing, depending on the situation. So you see, this is a very important aspect that you have to know. Now let us go on to slide number 12. Before we come to the last slide, which is 13, there is a Dhammapada verse I have chosen for you to reflect because it's useful, I say, that the Buddha talked about the importance of restraining the mind. That means to check the mind, to have a control over the mind, to be able to direct the mind. A mind that is restrained, that means restrained means you really have a check on it. You know about the mind. You want it to go in the direction you can because you're in control, isn't it? You can direct that mind. And this type of mind that is trained, directed, will be a happy mind, or it will lead you to a happy mind. On the other hand, a mind that is not restrained, you're pulled by what you see, pulled by what you hear, you hear this, wow, very interested, or you see something, or you taste some food, you get so carried away, always thinking about that, not restrained already, not under control, no break, no break, right? So, what you touch, right? What you see, what you smell, what you taste, no restraint of the senses, no. And that is what is happening today, especially in the world of smartphones, TikTok, Facebook, and so on. Unrestrained already. Wow, the mind after, this one very nice, or the one very nice, or they want to eat this food or that food, and so on. So you think it will bring you happiness? No. The number of cases of depression and mind-related illnesses have gone up among the young. Why? Because you don't follow the Dharma principle. So then in the Dhammapada verse 35, it says, the mind is very hard to check and swift. It falls on what it wants. Very true. It's just like a very good analogy is the monkey, right? The monkey always wants to run away, to visit this place, visit that supermarket, and then to get food and everything. So that is the mind are very hard to check and swift. So if you let it be like that, in time to come, your mind will be really lambat. And the problems will start and dukkha will come. So he wants so many things, right? So the monkey, so he runs here and there. So your task is to chase after the monkey, which means that you have to chase after the mind, in other words, right? To bring the mind back, just like you catch the monkey, and then when you catch the monkey back, you have to tie it to a pole, and the pole is very, very strong one. And you use not just a thin string, you use a steel chain, chain the monkey doesn't like it, it's not happy, because in the habit of running here and there, right? So it wants to struggle with everything, but it can't, because now you have chained the monkey to the pole. This is the analogy. Then in time to come, the monkey gets tired already, right? So he sits near the pole there, very well behaved, and then now he says, Tuan, sekarang Tuan mau saya buat apa? It's just a story. Just tell you that now you are in control of the mind. That's why in other words, in the Dhammapada, the Buddha said, you may conquer 1,000,000 men 1,000,000 times in battlefield, or it could be 1,000. 1,000 men 1,000 times in battlefield. But if you conquer yourself, that means conquer your mind, you are the greatest. Very true, isn't it? So you see, Dhammapada says the training of the mind is good. A mind so tame, so trained, so directed, so tame. Tame kasih. Tame, it's a very wild animal, a wild monkey. You tame it, then what happens? It can do fantastic things for you. And it brings happiness. Beautiful verse. You see, the picture. The monk, of course, is training the mind. The distraction on this one, untrained mind, attracted by beautiful ladies lah, and then think of the gambling lah, of the liquor lah, all sorts of things are all on the senses. What you see, what you taste, what you hear, what you smell, what you think, all those nonsense things, you are drawn to this. As in the world of the smartphone and all this, if you're not careful, you become a victim. And be careful about that. Right? On the one day, you will feel the terrible effects. So now we come to the last slide that has the lessons. We have to go. There are 4 Dharma lessons you can learn. They can be directly related or some relation to it. The first one, training the mind to be mindful and focused is important. In meditation especially. I won't touch on the meditation because it's a deeper thing. But in your ordinary living also, isn't it? We train the mind to be focused, and another thing to be mindful, to be aware, to know what is happening. That's very important. It's a strong mind. And that story tells it. Until later on, he became a very renowned scholar because he has controlled the mind. Otherwise, he got nowhere, man. Study, always all the distracting thoughts, isn't it? So in the end, Yudai Sora became a renowned scholar. So that is a very important thing, training the mind to be mindful and focused. And just now we discussed, the monk gave one method of how to train the mind to be focused, right? To be focused. That means to always bring it back. Don't fight it or don't attach to it. Next one. Our untrained monkey mind wanders all over. That is the nature of the mind. Right? It always likes to wander all over things. You hear a sound, wow, you want to go and find out what is it. Or you find an attractive sound, the music so nice, must get that hi-fi set that can play that beautiful music. Wow, the food is so good one. It's like that, right? The monkey mind always wanders. So when they are supposed to do a certain thing, a certain task, because they have not tamed the monkey, so the mind cannot focus. It will always run, following all the lures of what you see, the lure of what you hear and so on, so cannot focus on the task at hand. So you must train to always bring back the monkey. Don't let it wander here and there until so difficult, I don't know, wander until London or New York already. Always bring it back to be at whatever we are doing. That is an important thing. Whatever you are doing, there you are. Put your mind there. Right? It's very, wherever you are, there you are. It's the here and now. That's the important issue. Here and now. Then you become very efficient. Your mind becomes very strong. You can do so many things that other people take maybe weeks and so on. You a few days, you finish it. Because you have a focused mind. Right? So always bring it back to whatever you are doing. Now let us look at the third one. There are 2 types. There is this concentration meditation. This is more about meditation. It's called samatha meditation. So in the samatha meditation, they learn to pay attention to one single object. Like for example, very common one is paying attention to the breath. You are meditating. You know your breath is breathing in. And then you know the breath is coming out. So you are just concentrating on the single object of your breath, going in, coming out. But in between, you find it easy on principle. But actually, it comes to practice, you find the monkey likes to run again. Right? Your mind wanders already. Right? Wanders here and there, think of the mother, the food your mother is cooking, what television program is on, when your friend is going to contact you in the SMS, all sorts of things. But in the concentration meditation, you have to train the mind. Whenever you know these things, you know it's distracting thoughts. Bring it back to what you are actually supposed to do. Like in this case here, to watch your breath. The breath breathing in, breathing out. So this way, you will be trained to develop the mind. This bhavana, to make the mind stronger and stronger. And you will realize the wonders of training the mind, right? So now let us go on to the last Dharma lesson. Here you have to practice mindfulness. Mindfulness is supposed to be meaning to remember the instructions of the teacher to do that. Like for example, you have been taught how to meditate in a certain way. You must be mindful. That means you must not forget it. But there is a complete thing as sati sapajana is so it involves being aware. But nowadays people talk of mindfulness it's okay I feel that to be aware, to know, to be alert, to be attentive to all the things that are happening now, present. Whatever happens to the body, all the body, body aching, body pain, everything, you know it, you're mindful of it. Whatever that happens in the mind, the one we already discussed in the story, right? You know what the discursive thoughts, all the distracting thoughts are. You know them, you watch them. Don't let them catch you away. Don't to try to push them and fight them. Just watch them. No, they're there, but I have my work to do. Primary object, they will go on. Don't attach. Things, all these rise, they will fall. Right? Anything that arises will fall. You see? So, but if you go and pursue it and follow it, get attracted by it, get attached to it, wow, one thought becomes 10 thoughts, 10 thoughts become 100 thoughts, 100 thoughts become 1,000 thoughts, and no end. And then you find that so much time has been wasted. Many people are very inefficient in their work or in their studies or project and so on. One of the reasons is the mind is not good. The mind cannot focus to get the work done. You see? So if you can focus, concentrate, and also being mindful of things to become aware, attentive, then you find you also become efficient. Not only just benefiting in meditation. The ultimate thing is actually meditation, because that is what will get you into Nibbana one, But we are not talking about that. We are talking about just ordinary life also, isn't it? So I've spoken for more than 1 hour already. This lesson is speech at a higher level. So that's why I say it's dedicated to secondary or even better college and university students and working youths and all people who want to learn this useful method of how to focus and strengthen the mind. So before we say sadhu 3 times, I would like to thank all the students, the youth members, parents, grandparents, teachers of Dharma classes. I would like to thank all who have been following this presentation. I say thank you and sadhu to all of you for taking time to follow this presentation. All right, that is titled Staying Focused in Your Studies. But actually, you can extend it to staying focused in whatever you do, right? So now, let us hold our palms, Anjali position, and say sadhu 3 times. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And to all who have been following this presentation, thank you and sadhu for having spent time and putting in your effort to follow this presentation, which I believe can be very useful to you, right? Take care.